So my assignment is on Russell Williams' murder of Jessica Lloyd. So for motivation, Russell Williams, basically his whole motivation was deeply rooted in his sexual obsessions. So he kind of had a rape fantasies, and that was what made him thrill seek, and that's what he would like to do. And it started excelling, so it kept going up and up and up. And eventually he started enjoying rape and then murder. And that was the case of Jessica Lloyd. So in terms of opportunity, Russell's MO was waiting at night and then breaking into the houses. And he did this with many of women, and he also did this to Jessica Lloyd. So the assessment of deterrence is, during an interview, Russell Williams spoke, and he said that one time he broke into, it's not an interview, it's a confession. He broke into one of their houses and he saw that she was showering and he wanted to see her underwear, but he didn't. So then he had the mind to think that he would get caught, and he evaluated his risks. So the victim was 27-year-old Jessica Lloyd. The relationship with this woman was nothing. Russell Williams didn't know who she was. In terms of victim harm and vulnerability, Russell usually targeted women that lived alone or women that he just seen around, so he'd remember their addresses. This was the case of Jessica Lloyd, who he had seen when he was driving past the street on the treadmill. The public, they didn't really play any role during these crimes, but in terms of Russell Williams' image in the public, he was a decorated soldier, so he was respected. And for transaction of the offender, so on January 29th, Russell Williams hid in her backyard, in Jessica Lloyd's backyard until she fell asleep. He entered the house, and then he duct taped her mouth and he bound her by rope. He then sexually assaulted her multiple times and videotaped everything. So one of the key findings here was videotaping and wearing her lingerie. This is what Russell Williams did, and it was his MO. This is what he really liked to do, and I found it very odd, but this was one of his fantasies. Russell Williams then forced her into the vehicle, saying if she cooperated, he would let her live. And then he took her to his other house and murdered her, and then dropped her into a field. In terms of the victim, Lloyd cooperated, hoping it would save her life, and she pleaded many times, but it didn't matter because Russell Williams had already decided he was going to kill her, and he was lying to her. Oh, also, Lloyd was already having a condition where she I guess from the head injury, when he hit her with a flashlight, she was starting to have seizures. There was no public present during the time of the crime, but people do recall seeing the SUV parked in Lloyd's driveway, and that would be Russell Williams' SUV. So in terms of the aftermath, the offender, so Russell Williams went back to his military base and slept there, and then went to California because he had worked there. He then returned and then dumped the body close to her house. Also, Russell was caught because he went through a police checkpoint during February 7th, and they matched the tire treads to the ones that were found outside of Jessica Lloyd's house. So Jessica Lloyd, in terms of victim, Jessica Lloyd was bound by duct tape on a field in Tweed, Ontario. So Russell Williams was accused, and the public got word of this, and he was shamed. He was also stripped of all his honors. And now he spends his time in Quebec's Port Cartier institution. So realistically, Jessica Lloyd's only role in this crime was to fulfill Russell Williams' sexual obsessions and his rape fantasies. Also him wearing his lingerie and videotaping. And when we're discussing theories, I know we didn't talk about this in class, but I think it applied really well, was the theory of self-control. And it's technically your lack there of self-control. So you don't have the ability to control yourself. And I think that's what happened to Russell Williams, because he did mention that he could control it before, but he couldn't anymore. And this comes from not having a strong family figure or having problems in your family. And what I figured out, which I had no idea, was that Russell Williams' parents had divorced and that he actually lived on his own most of the time in boarding schools. And you never know, if his family stayed strong, then it's possible that this would have never happened, and Russell would have developed the self-control to go and at least get help or talk to his family or just not do those things in general morally. So that's the end of my presentation.